This week's budget speech should clarify how government plans to deal with Eskom's crippling debt. National Treasury has pledged to take over as much as two-thirds of the power utility's 400 billion rand debt. Heidi Giokos examines whether the move will go some way to easing rolling blackouts.
One of Eskom's biggest challenges is its over 400 billion rand debt burden. In his budget speech on Wednesday, Finance Minister eNCA will outline plans to deal with the power utility's debt. It's expected for government to take on two-thirds of the debt. Will Treasury's move to take on its own debt from Eskom solve the problem?
I think potentially a kind of a line in the sand for turning the situation around expensively. But quite frankly, there is no other option. So the fact that it will take, let's say, two-thirds and will add another 300 billion or thereabout to the national debt, converting it from contingent liability to actual liability. How effectively are going to use this 300 billion? What does it mean for the turnaround? Because you can spend the 300 billion and not turn it around. And that is the big risk.
Government is hoping that reducing Eskom's liabilities will allow the loss-making company to raise funds to carry out plant maintenance and strengthen the power grid. But it is taking a risk, and should there be strict conditions attached to the bailout.
No penny of public fund money, whether it goes to the president or whether it goes to Eskom, should be without conditions. The problem that we've had this money going to SAA, to Eskom, to Transnet, to the cabinet without any conditions. They squander it as if it's freebie. In the meantime, it's a liability on the future generations.
Economists widely agree that economic growth and job creation are at the mercy of a well-functioning power utility. But government needs to watch its balance sheet carefully, as taking on Eskom's debt will mean the state diving further into debt.
The rightful audience for dealing with that debt certainly lies with our government. Obviously, that has an impact on taxpayers and the fiscus in terms of what is allocated to the other aspects of the budget. And so I imagine that, in coming up with it's something that with the allocation that'll be put towards Eskom, it's a balancing act between the needs of the country as a whole as well as the needs of Eskom in particular.
Eskom paid 1.3 billion rand for 50 litres of diesel in November last year. In January, Eskom paid a further 1.2 billion rand for 56 litres. That's over 2 billion rand spent in less than 3 months. Will Eskom get more money from National Treasury to fund its diesel bill?
The diesel cost is around the diesel mafia. There is a mafia has been created, call it a state capture, whatever language you want to call it. There is in the economics, in the language of public policy, a self-interest group has been created whose economic interest is to prolong this situation as long as possible, create crisis so that diesel can be bought and they can make money.
The Finance Minister's intervention can only go so far. For the country to prosper, Eskom will have no choice but to improve its operations when relieved of its debt burden. Heidi Giokos in Johannesburg.